A while back, we covered some of the most impressive fan-made Star Wars games built from the ground up. And first on that list was a game called Force Combat, a 2.5D fighting game created by the developer LastJawa. This fan-made game features key characters from the Star Wars franchise such as Darth Vader, Yoda, Ahsoka, Mara Jade, and a ton more. Honestly, if you're a big fan of the old school Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, or even the PS1 release of Star Wars Masters of Terras Cassie, then what I'm about to show you could definitely be of interest to you. But before we really dive into the game, its development process and what's expected for the future of this fan game, our question of the day is, do you think we should have another official Star Wars fighting game? Let me know down in the comments below, and as always, we read all of them and try to get back to some of you. Now, on with the video. For those who may have missed the release, or perhaps too young to remember, believe it or not, there was actually once a Star Wars fighting game. It was called Star Wars Masters of Terras Cassie, a 2.5D side-scrolling fighting game for the PS1. It takes place during the Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, and allows you to play characters such as Luke, Vader, Solo, and Leia, with unlockables such as Mara Jade and tastefully Leia's slave outfit. It was 1997, guys, like come on. Critics found it to be a flop, with its unbalanced characters and sluggish controls. It wasn't a prime example for a Star Wars fighting game. 2005 rolled around and Studio Gigante attempted a second try at the genre with a new type of fighting game set in the Star Wars universe. That, however, never saw a release, and all that existed was old proof of concept gameplay that definitely felt like it was setting up to be a better gameplay experience than its older brother on the PS1. Force Combat definitely feels like it takes inspiration on the good parts of those games, whilst also attempting to right the wrongs on the more questionable parts. Perhaps showing Star Wars fans that there could be room in the video game market for another Star Wars fighting game in 2020. The game comes with various different modes: a story mode called Path of the Force, an AI or local versus mode, training mode, and an online mode that allows you to play against other players. The game has been in development for roughly 2 years now, and LastJawa has done insane work to push tons of playable characters you can unlock. For instance, Alpha Version 3, which was released a few months ago, saw the addition of the Mandalorian and Moff Gideon, and just recently he announced that a playable version of Finn will be in Alpha Version 4. You're looking at over 20 to 25 playable characters, and those numbers are only just going to keep climbing. It definitely looks like LastJawa is pulling characters from all timelines of the Star Wars lore and not locking himself into one section, meaning that if there's a character you'd like to play, it's either going to be there or it might be there at some point. The fighting style for most characters is not what you're likely used to in standard fighting games. Instead of using fists, you're using your lightsaber and weaving them into your attacks. Chaining combos fills up your special meter, which is then depleted when using one of your character's unique strikes, meaning there is so many animations and techniques to see and learn when playing this game. Many of the characters are locked, and for fans it creates a large interest in how to unlock them. If you're better at the game, the more characters you can earn in return. For example, playing the story mode on very easy or easy doesn't earn you any rewards. Anything above that does, and the AI difficulty can go as high as very hard, meaning that if you're into Star Wars and fighting games, you can definitely see yourself playing this for quite a while, especially when there's an online mode to test your skills. Finally, best of all, it's completely free and downloadable to play. If you wish to find where you can play the game, check out LastJawa's Twitter and YouTube linked in the description below. For safety measures, we're not going to be including the download links in this video. LastJawa has been pretty open about the development of the game. You can see so on his Twitter and video uploads on YouTube, showing off his callbacks to games like Masters of Terras Cassie, as well as all forms of characters he's working on. It's incredibly frequent, and this guy does an amazing job at keeping the game fresh with tons of new content. The game itself also had a very unusual spike in attention back in January this year when IGN, of all places, actually did a 15-minute gameplay coverage of its first release, causing many to seek where to play it and resulting in LastJawa having to take initiative and pull many sources on where to download it in fears of a cease and desist. Thankfully, the game still sees development, most likely attributed to the fact that EA or Disney has no plans to create a Star Wars fighting game, and as a result is unlikely hemorrhaging sales of other Star Wars IPs that they own or create. But LastJawa has stood by his stance on making the download of the game a little less easier to get to prevent any conflicts of interest, interest. Thus, we will not be including the download links ourselves as mentioned earlier. In conclusion, Star Wars has had a bit of a complicated history in the realm of fighting games. We've seen underwhelming PS1 releases, cancelled projects, and an odd inclusion in Soul Calibur 4 with Yoda and Darth Vader. So when we see a fan-made fighting game project by one single person called Force Combat, there is a bit of reservedness that comes with it. But it definitely seems that LastJawa is fighting against those odds here and creating a really interesting project that has certainly seen some interest, especially on its release date back in January, thanks to IGN covering it. And I get it, the shutdown by Disney is on a lot of people's minds, but the answer to that does seem to have a good outcome, as Force Combat still sees plenty of regular updates dating as recent as 21 hours ago as I write this script, despite being under the watchful eye of EA and Disney. The developer is a passionate Star Wars fan, and Force Combat reminds us that there is potential to see a Star Wars fighting game in the future, and even if it does mean losing this awesome fan project in the process, LastJawa has been able to demonstrate that demand, and he's an incredibly talented person to beat. Just a reminder, Force Combat has been modelled, animated, coded, and tested all by one person in his spare time. But that does wrap up my video for today. A massive thanks to LastJawa for creating this awesome fan game, and our question of the day, which is, do you think we should have another official Star Wars fighting game? Interested to see if Force Combat has changed your mind if it was originally a no. And just a quick reminder, you have a week from today to secure your places for the September rewards on our Patreon. We do not charge on sign up and only charge on the start of every month. So if you want our September rewards, be sure to sign up before the 1st of September. Links to our Patreon in the description and pinned comment down below, alongside LastJawa's socials. But other than that, I have been Charlie, you've been watching EcksToo, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.